Abhay, you're going to talk about
something that they have never heard before.
all right. Is it part of a hype cycle or
It's transformational tech.
transformational?
All right.
All right. So Abhay is an ex-colleague of mine who's currently working for KPMG, and he's an expert on AI technology.
Absolutely not.
Copilot. So he's going to tell us all about it. Over to you, Abhay.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. As Rami said, my name is Abhay Mishra. The way I describe myself, I call myself a friendly CRM consultant. Friendly because I tend to have a smile on my face no matter how hard in the delivery cycle we are. And it's not a coincidence that after seeing several go lives, successful and unsuccessful, I have lost my hairline at some point in time. So that's so I'm here to talk about generative AI and how we can use generative AI in our app development. This is something, as I was joking around, which probably is not a joke, and I think it's true. You might have heard about Copilot, AI, and several other technologies. If someone is doing a counter, I'll probably say at least 50 times since 9 a.m. and God knows how many times in last 1 month. And if you've been following the Kardashian-style drama that's been happening in OpenAI and other space, you would have probably heard about this more as well. So I'm not gonna tell you about what AI is and stuff, but my focus is having a non-developer lens or non-technical person lens on how we can use and imbibe some of the generative AI techniques into our app development. So throughout this conversation, I'm gonna cover a narrative around what is an AI, how does it relate into software development, and sadly, Michael, the demo scenario that I've picked is not Dynamics 365, it is the Power Platform. But I do plan to cover Dynamics 365 Copilot in one of the user group session in a more deep dive style. So we're gonna look into the 3 use cases, how we can use Copilot to create a Canvas app, which I think I was told was already shown to you in the keynote session. So we're gonna go through some of that step again. We're gonna see how we can use Copilot to create a website portal as well. And then we'll also look into steps where how you can use the Copilot or natural language to create Power Automate as well. So sounds about right. Cool. So before we get into those demos, I want to set the context a little bit where we are in terms of our, as Rami few moments ago said, where we are in the hype cycle. So in 2011, a gentleman called Mark Henderson, he was the co-founder of Mosaic, which was one of the first UI-based web browser. In 2011, he wrote an essay about the contemporary state of software, and he coined this term, software is eating the world. When he made that rather bold statement, at that time, we were living in an era where users were drawn to software because of their rich UI, their rich user interface, and the ability in the softwares to act as a data in and data out aggregators. So in 2011, all the CRM systems that existed had already been there. Dynamics 365 was called Dynamics 4, if some of you would remember. 2011 was on the cards, so it was released towards the end of that year. And it was safe to say that from a maturity perspective, softwares and software industry had reached a maturity cycle. Hence, he coined the word software is eating the world. Fast forward a decade later, there is a bit of a shift in that narrative. Someone recently coined this word. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal Tech Talk, was Sam Altman, the guy whose name you probably would not have heard. He coined the word AI will eat the software. What did he mean by that? Was it a threat? Was it a sensational statement? His narrative was the way large language model has come up and evolved and matured in recent years. It has disrupted the way we see those softwares. So software, as we understand now, are not just good because they have a rich UI and UX layer. a software, both from a development standpoint of view, should be easy to build, and from a user point of view, should be intuitive and easy to use as well. And that is being driven by the maturity of the large computational model and large data models that exist there. And then this is the era that we live in, and hence why, if even half of you after the end of this session, I managed to encourage you to go and try out some of the app creation or any use case that you find out, be it in Power Platform or OpenAI, Generative AI, or Dynamics 365 Copilot, just to play around. I'll sense that my session was successful. So that's all well and good. We have all the AI tech and everything handed to us. What does it mean in terms of us, and how does it relate to the conversation that we are having? So contrary to what Rami said, I could strongly believe we are not at our hype cycle. AI is almost a transformational tech now. Very recently, there's a gentleman called Mustafa Suleyman. He is the co-founder of a company called DeepMind, which is an AI-based futuristic company, as he liked to call. He said, we have evolved from the hype cycle, and we are now at a stage where, he coined another term. He said, we are at a stage where we can invent an artificial general intelligence. Now, what the heck is AGI? He said, artificial general intelligence is a state where the AI will be able to do all the cognitive, emotive, and human-like, and emulate all the human-like behavior much better than average intelligent human being in next 3 years. So he said there is a potential, if utilized properly, that these large data models will enable us creation of AGI, where all the customer service representative laborious task of responding to emails, simple resolution of queries over a website, even IVRs, receiving people's call. So for those of you who love being on hold with Air New Zealand to change their flight, might eventually see some of the ethos of AGI being able to automatically respond to one of the queries that you have over the phone call and then do a ticket resolution. So we are already moving into that state, and believe it or not, from our point of view, I don't think we'll be able to solve the world's problem, but as users of the Microsoft ecosystem and platform, as app makers or developers, or as non-technical people like me, I think it is our responsibility to be aware of it, and most importantly, not be overwhelmed by it. Because I don't know about others, but when the initial hype of the generative AI became a mainstream news item last November, for the first few months, I was living in a state of denial because I was having a long year with the work and whatnot and stuff. But then I was overwhelmed by the amount of hype, and I thought I had already missed the boat. There are people all out there who are an expert in AI, but the reality is it's still a nascent stage, and there's still time for us to pick it up. And that's where Microsoft, very timely, announced the general availability of Copilot. So I'm sure people would have heard, as I said, a lot of times this term. So we're going to keep it quick. For a refresher, Copilot is nothing but all the generative language model and computational model that we discussed in last 4 or 5 minutes. It's a prescient, it's a nectar of that. So it uses the natural language and allow the app makers or users to be able to create apps or introduce automation in your flow. So the way the other day I was describing it to one of, so in my firm, I was just describing it to one of the tax partners who has read about Copilot somewhere. And that tax partner has zero interest in understanding technology. So he was asking me, explain it to me in a non-tech term, in what is a Copilot. And I said, if you can, in a plain English, explain or write down what is it that you want from your app and who the intended user is, then Copilot is the thing for you. So if you can, in a natural language, describe, so similar talking to ChatGPT generative AI, describe your intent, describe your problem statement succinctly, then you can use Copilot. Right. What does it mean for us? Have people seen this before? I'm pretty sure some of you would have come across this. So the era of Copilot, or as I say, the applications of Copilot is huge. I don't think it's humanly possible for us to complete or cover a lot of that, or even touch base a lot of that in one standpoint. So I'm just giving you a teaser, and then have this as a reference point. I'm sure we'll circulate the slides as well, so you will be able to see some of this information as well. Copilot, Michael and Rami, correct me if I'm wrong, the GA is going to be by the end of this year?
There are various GAs.
For Dynamics and Power Platform?
Yes. They're all there's GAs coming all the time.
Right.
Lots of stuff's in preview, some stuff's in GA, more stuff's coming GA very soon.
Okay. So can I promise these guys that within at least 6 months?
I'm not promising time frames, mate. In 6 months, things will be different to where they are now.
Right.
Moving so fast.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So again, you're not late. You're picking up something that's changing already. So I tried to negotiate to get the GA, but that was a very failed negotiation. So once you know more about it, you will be able to get early preview or access to Dynamics 365 Copilot within Dynamics 365, sales, marketing, various modules, and then Power Platform. Today, for the purposes of this demo, we're going to focus on the Power Platform, and we're going to cover the 3 use cases, as I mentioned. Right. So when I say I got overwhelmed last year by the word Copilot, that was partly true because of the hype, but also not true because Microsoft has continuously invested a lot, or I think this was borrowed from a slide, and the title of the slide was Infusing AI in Low Code since 2019. So even before the introduction of Copilot, Microsoft has been slowly introducing the AI-based capabilities. So be it the PowerFX formulas in Power Apps, be it the ability to use natural language to format data formats or create flows, or last year, which I found was very useful, was the ability to import a Figma app and then create your Canvas-based app was also a very powerful tool. So there has always been a constant investment from Microsoft in generative AI-based app-based development, catered to people and citizen developers like us. But I think the introduction of Copilot in some of the ethos of Power Platform has taken it to a next level. So previously, you still had to do some point and click, know where to point and click, or as some of us were discussing outside, you still needed to understand how to write a Power App or an expression to be able to write a meaningful Power Automate to before deliver a business value. A lot of it has changed with Copilot. As a practitioner out there on the field, the only one word of caution I would say, I'm still in my early days of playing around with Copilot and what it does. Once you get your hand dirty and once you get access to the environment, use it with caution. I always believe in under promising and over delivering. So when you're out there talking to your clients or stakeholders, before you promise them the moon and stars, be mindful about the limitations of Copilot, what it can do and what it cannot do, because my early assessment of the technology, while very quickly you can spin up something in a matter of seconds or a matter of minutes, because trial instances are a little bit slow. So it does take time, but still there's a lot that needed to be done from a citizen developer point of view to take it to the next level. So use it with a bit of a grain of salt and use it with a caution. How many people have had seen Copilot environment by themselves in action so far? Quite a few. And how many of you have had used OpenAI or something quite a few. Well, you want to do the demo? All right, let's see things in action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover 3 very basic scenarios. Last year, we did a similar exercise in a boot camp format where I think we got a little bit too prescriptive, had people write down almost code and software sitting here. So at Friday at 3:15, I have no intention of doing that to you. So we're going to keep it a light touch. So some of you who are at technical minds, likes of Lynn, will find, what man, we already know this. So be patient with me. We're going to have a separate session in one of the user group where we go under the hood and take a bit of a deep dive. Today, I want to directly address the non-technical folks, people in the room or online, and see how we can use some of the Copilot capabilities to do some magic. Shall we have a look? All right. I think this is the bit you guys saw. I'm assuming people online can still see my screen. Tere, one more thumbs up. I'm checking on you if you're listening. He's got friends. Right. So I'm assuming you saw this online. So again, just a recap. For those of you who are here in the keynote, I wasn't. Some of you told me that this was shown to you. So we'll keep it light touch and we'll just move through this quickly. What I'm going to show you is this is a Power Platform instance. I'm about to create a Canvas app in Power Apps using natural language syntax. So we'll just type in a simple statement in English. I'll keep it plain English, and we'll hope that system will understand that and will create a meaningful app for us, including the data structure and table structure for that. Do we have any volunteers from anyone in the participants? Do you have a use case in mind? Otherwise, I'm going to go with my lack of imagination.
I don't know, a Secret Santa app.
You're going too far. Someone also at work, I was showing it to him. They typed in and asked Copilot to create a game where the main character goes into a barber shop to get a haircut, and based on the type of haircut, they get reward. I think Copilot had a very weird error to that. So, let's not get too creative, right? Let's see.
Secret Santa.
Scoring up.
Scoring up?
You keep the score.
Right. I'm gonna keep it to my lack of imagination. As you can see, I'm also using Inventory and Grammarly.
I've found spelling doesn't have auto Copilot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes.
All right. So, lack of imagination, and I was at my GP yesterday, so this was fresh in my mind. They were still using a register to have walk me in when I was at the GP. So I thought maybe we can give them an iPad and a Canvas app where they can at least do a digital registration. So let's see. I'm saying create an app for patients to register at the clinic when they walk in. So for those of you who have not seen it before, once you interact with the Copilot studio, if I may call, it goes on the side here and then almost becomes like your mini assistant. So you can interact and talk to it. Be mindful when you are playing with it. I don't know if it was me thing or it was a user thing. There is a propensity to click this create app very soon, whereas you still have a chance to modify the table structure and add in more columns to that table and rows to that table. And you need to press the enter button there. So just be mindful of that. Right, so it has spun up a couple of columns in the table, patient ID, name, age, gender, that all looks good. I'm gonna say add a column to record the email. Oh, the email table is here. And I'll say add 5 more rows to the table so that we have more of a data just to play around. Cool. Are we happy with that? Just gonna go and click this button, create app. So what's happening behind the scene? For those of you, I still at times get confused with table and column. So entity and attribute. So the system is not only creating an app behind the scene, but it's also creating an entity or attributes associated with that. And it will sit in the Dataverse. You will have the full power of going and playing around within the Dataverse once it's created. Almost there. I'm going to blame it on the Wi-Fi because it was much faster earlier when I was trying it. How many of you played with Canvas app here before and had any sort of experience in creating? Rami, you don't count, please. Right, so this is, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You can see. This is what Copilot thinks the look and feel of your app should be. What we'll do is we'll go in and have a little fun with the table structure. So I'm going to click this database icon here and find the table. So it has chosen a logical name, patient registration in this case for our table. I'm going to edit it. What I'll do is patient ID. I'll change the format of this column to an auto numbering. And quite a few people will remember here, back in the days, we used to write a plugin for auto numbering. And it always used to be an installable package. And a few years down the line, it became a configurational thing. But yeah, this is quite powerful in my opinion. And I'm just going to use a text prefix. The scenarios for walk-ins of the applications, I'm saying all the auto numbering generated here should have a WI prefix. The minimum number of digits should be 4. You can, of course, change it around. And then there are all the other advanced options as well. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to click Save button. I promise I'll not show you anything coding related because I can't code. So we'll stop where the point and click things stop. So our table structure has been updated. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to click on this tree structure here. We call it a tree view, and then go and play with some of the component of the app, just to show you the various possibilities. So this gallery here, which is highlighted at the moment, I'm going to click here and change the fields. So at the moment, it's using the patient ID, the name and age. I want to change it from, I don't want to see patient age there. I want to see their email. I want to see their name is fine. That looks fine. Yeah, so our galleries changed. What I also want to do is when someone creates this patient ID, so assuming you are an operator working in the clinic and a patient walks in, you want them to register, click on the new button and whatnot, but you do not want them to mess up with the patient ID because patient ID, we have said it should be auto-generated. So we're going to restrict that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this container here and say edit fields. And I'm going to find the field called patient ID and say at the moment control type is selected as edit text. I'll go ahead and change it to view text. Hopefully it should change. Let's see. And once I'm happy with a little bit of modification, so what I did was I changed the table structure, then I changed the gallery structure, and then I changed the way some of the fields interact. And once I'm happy with that, I can do a preview of this app by clicking this F5 button here. That's how it looks. Let's see how does the UI looks when you click in a new button. For some reason, the patient ID is not updated, but that's fine. Then always do testing later. There we go. It was just giving me a hard time. So it's prefixed with WI, given a random number. So that's what we wanted. As an app maker, this is not the scenario you'll be working on. You'll be working on greater scenarios, but that was just an idea. One thing which I quite like handy, and I always find it useful, is the ability for you to visualize how the app looks like in various devices. Because the moment you talk about a Canvas app chances are very high your end user will not be interacting it on a laptop. And even on a laptop, there are various resolution, there is various screen sizes. So as a good practice, as a best practice, I'll highly recommend that you test your app in various screens and devices. So you don't need to buy all the iPads and stuff. You can just go and choose one of the device here. So I'm gonna say, show me the layout in one of the iPad view. That's fine. And based on the resolution of the screen, it will show you all the horizontal scrolling and vertical scrolling as well. So that's one of the powerful features that I like. Oh, of course, you can take it to the next level. This was just a teaser, and you already have seen this in the morning, so we're gonna skip it. But second scenario, so this was the scenario we simulated where someone walked into the clinic. Now our clinic is expanding. We wanna encourage the patients to interact with our portal, public facing portal, log into that portal and self-register themselves. So I remember, I think it was 2021, we were working on a pre-sales engagement and the client paid us for a period of 2 sprints to create a sample portal using Power Pages. So what I'm gonna do now, I think pretty much achieved what we did in we'll achieve more than what we did in that 2 sprints. So in this scenario here, again, I'm gonna use a plain language and ask Copilot to build a portal for me. And I will say, it's fair enough. So building a website for a patient to register the portal where they can provide their contact details. Once you're happy with that, just send your syntax. Of course. Right, so this is a 3-step process. First of all, the Copilot will automatically generate a logical portal name for you. So in this case, it has said patient portal. I think I'm in principle happy with that, so not gonna change it. You can change the website address as well. It has, again, generated a very logical name for it. So I'm gonna skip that part. Does anyone see the next button option, which has disappeared?
There's the settings on the side.
There we go. Thank you. Right, stage 2, automatic selection of the layout.
Try again.
Yeah, it's too colorful for a patient registration portal. So the point is, if there are several templates available, so AI has chosen whichever template it deemed appropriate for this occasion. I think it looked very colorful. I think this would have been a Diwali celebration registration portal. So you're not celebrating Diwali in this situation, so I'm going to try again. More colors? Yeah?
Let's go with that.
Okay.
I don't think it's just like a microscopic view or something.
Someone sneezed on the computer.
Right. The other thing what I quite liked is when you are creating the web page, generally it's not just a portal. You have a several bookshelf view of the pages. So you do want to have a bit of a page about contact me, about us, or want to create a sample flow. So AI does give you an option to do that. Of course, there's nothing stopping you to enriching that Power Page to the next level. So in this scenario, I'm going to select all because I'm finding it difficult to make choices. Once you're happy, click done. It does take a bit of time. I think approximately a minute. So maybe feel free to make a joke or something, Rami. Fill in the time.
Well, I am actually going to make a comment.
Yeah.
On the online stream, we've got Dara from Australia, who's also doing the demo on Copilot. And he demonstrated exactly the same things that you're demonstrating. The only difference is that he got to Power Automate, you're
Yeah.
doing Power Pages. And
Yeah.
I think you'll do Power Automate.
Well, the demo gods were not kind on me. So before I was coming in here, my demo instance connection to Exchange and Teams isn't working. So I'm going to show you how it works. And then, of course, as a preparation for demo, it's a good practice to keep screenshots, which I have a lot of them. So I'm going to show you those screenshots.
So AK was just saying, that's just, it's another Abhay from a different time dimension.
Multidimensional film.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But it's amazing, like, you guys were almost on the same pages at the same time. Like, you were doing the tables, he was doing the tables, then you moved on to the app, he was demonstrating the app, and now he moves on to something else. So, yeah, I think, Abhay, you're on point.
Thank you. All right, I don't think we'll have time for one more joke, but a quick comment before it wraps up. The evident thing is, which you'll see is, even though it has the capability to generate a lot of facade of the web pages, it does mess up with the UI. So if you are thinking that you can just write a simple plain language and create a website or a portal that is go live worthy, that unfortunately is not the case. A lot of the alignment and a lot of the playing around with the screens and stuff is still a requirement that will have to go through painfully. But as I said, it does save you from starting from scratch, which I think is a win itself. Right. Let's see what we got. We'll send feedback later. As you can see, based on our choices and color scheme that we chose, everything is created. One thing which I absolutely loved, and I generally refrain from using it, but is this feature where you can hover around the text, click on the text heading, and once it is selected, you can click on this button and run a Copilot. So let's say the standard text here, I find it a little bit off topic. So if I feel it does the purpose, but it's probably not related to my intent, I can use Copilot or tell Copilot to change the tone. And I want to make it sound more casual. But I don't know if people online can read it. It says register for your services today by blah, blah, blah. It's quick, easy, and sign up. Plus you'll get access to exclusive offers and discounts. Who doesn't want it from the clinic, right? Exclusive offers and discount to go to GP. I quite like it. Yeah. Bundle package. Go to GP and your blood cholesterol checkup is free. So yeah, let's do that. So I'm gonna go and replace the text. Right? GUI. Similar here. I'm gonna go and hover around here, click Copilot, and I'll say rewrite. This time, I will not ask it to change the tone. I'll ask the AI to rewrite. Has it rewritten? Yeah, I think it's done something. Again, you get the gist. You can go in and change the color and layout and not. So yeah, have go around and have a play with it. Again, as we have seen in the Canvas app editor, you can go through the various pages and sections of this Power Page, go in and change the content and stuff. You don't need to be a genius to predict that. You can always go and change the images that you are seeing here. If you want to change the color scheme of this website to want to make it more palatable to your organizational UI scheme, you can go and change it. Okay. All the styling options, layout options are here as well. And yeah, if you have a nice, pretty logo, you can go and upload the pages as well. For those of you who are a technical mind and want to play around with the scripting, you can generate the source code of the website that's been generated by clicking this edit code button here. So I have not done that in a while, so I'm not going to do that in this demo. So let's respect the demo gods. But yeah, that option is there. Again, if you're happy with how your website is looking, you can hit the preview button. And one thing I quite like is this barcode scanner. So if you want to do a test on your phone, and it does work. That's why I'm boldly doing it. You can open this website on your phone as well, and it does the same thing, which I think some of you will relate. Developing a website and then being able to test it on spot on your device and your mobile phones is quite a powerful feature. Just taking its time. Once we're done with this, we're gonna very quickly do a sneak peek on how we can use the natural language to use Power Automates or Cloud Flows. In the interest of time, we're gonna do a very light touch session on that. And I'm planning to do a bit of a deep dive in one of the user groups, so feel free to come and join that session as well. So yeah, that's our functional website. Everything works still there. All the changes that we made from a text point of view are here. All the buttons and functions should work. And a good thing is, it is not just a dummy website. Everything that you do in Interact, the data will be captured under your patient record history in a Dataverse. And once it's there, you can do all sorts of magic there in the Dataverse. But I'm going to go and close it. Close our design studio for Power Pages as well. That was our overview of how you can use Copilot for Power Pages. Similarly, very quickly, let's see how we can introduce some automation in our app or whatever scenario that you're working in using natural language. So I'm gonna create a very simple Power Automate, which will send an email when a Dataverse record is created. So Dataverse record is in this scenario created by some magic. We don't care how it's created. What I want to do is, once a record is created, the ability for a system to either send an email or you can do a Teams notification, publish it to a chat or chatbot, which in this scenario will not work because I do not have a Teams connection, but you can use your imagination. The other good thing, which I'll quite encourage for people to try, is the AI builder capability. So you can use the incoming text. So in our scenario where we had created a website, you can use the incoming ChatGPT function to extract the information from the registration portal and identify a priority patient. So if someone is looking for a priority healthcare, you can use the extract feature and send in a Teams notification to one of the team as well. So the AI builder allows you to do that. It does work, but unfortunately, we will not have time to go through that, but it's there. So feel free to try it and give it a hand. Fine. I went very simple. I said request approval when a Dataverse record is created. So it has created a bit of a structure. For those of you who use Power Automate on a daily basis, this is not black magic. This is something very simple. But if someone like me who does not use on a daily basis, if you don't know where to click, how to find a connector for a creation of Dataverse and stuff, it is a very powerful tool. So depending on who you are, where you are in your learning journey, your level of excitement will vary when you see this. Yeah, so it has connected to my Dataverse. The approval workflow is all working fine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create the flow. And once you're here, I'm not going to go into it because this is not exclusive to Power Copilot. This is something how you write Power Automates. But yeah, once you're there in the connection, you can go and choose the tables, choose the parameters, and change conditions and whatnot just using your point and click buttons. One thing I wanted to show you was, I'm pretty sure for those of you who had worked with the dynamic fields in the Dynamics ancient instance or UI, you would remember every time you were to tie up a dynamic field from your record, you had to go somewhere in a funny space in workflow, click that edit button, and then work with that dynamic fields parameter that would get highlighted into a rather not pretty looking yellow color, and it required at least 5-10 clicks. So if hypothetically you were to use dynamic fields in your email messages here, you can just simply click a button here. And all your dynamic fields from the Dataverse table is appearing here. So if you know your table structure, if you know your record, you can just work through this magic very quickly and easily. I did intend to complete this scenario where we send an email and then send and come to the approval. But I'm just looking at my clock, and also we're getting closer to the beer time. So I'm going to start the wrapping up process. So what I'll be doing is I'll go through this step, tell my Power Automate to send an email for approval every time a new Dataverse record is created. That email can go to the manager or whoever is the approver. And it's all point and click, no coding required. And once it's done, the email would appear something like this. The information, the concise information is displayed to the approver, so they do not have to click on the record. They click the approve option here, and then system goes back into the Dataverse and update the record as approved. So this is the scenario. I'll leave the tips and instructions in my file. So feel free to go and try it when you get your hand into the instance. Oh, so those were the 3 scenarios. I know it was a bit of a rushed sneak peek, but I just wanted to keep the light touch on this, and then we'll do a deep dive and appropriately. I think towards the closing, what I'll probably say is, and I'll be very honest, there are far more technical people in this room, far more intelligent people in this room who have the potential to take what we were seeing to the next level. So what you saw was barely scratching the surface of what the tool offers. This is a very powerful diagram. I think if you take some time in familiarizing yourself with what it does. So if you start from bottom, you have the machine learning platform, full power of the Azure cognitive services and Azure scenario-based services to open to you, falling in the ethos of OpenAI. And then you can create your razor sharp small apps using Power Apps, or if your business requirements requires end-to-end functionalities on products, you can use applications such as Microsoft Dynamics. So start small, identify small use cases. You will find your stakeholders easily convinced with that, but then very quickly you can take it to the next level using that. And then, yeah, the final parting message, which is a bit of a repeat to what I said. Do not be overwhelmed by it, but also do not overlook it, because in next couple of years, what we do and what we work in our daily life will be impacted by AI. Whether you are an end user, the apps that you are using or the systems that you're using will be built on AI, or if you are an app maker or developer, people within your organization will expect you to understand. And I think a couple of stats, if you see, all of the data generated by the world globally, around 10% of that will be generated using the generative AI. So it's a very powerful source of information as well. And around 65%, even if it's not entirely true, even if 50% of the app development will be low code and AI based, then you might want to be in that wave as well. So yeah, keep yourself up to date with it. Do not be overwhelmed. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you next one of the user group sessions. I think that was the last slide. Yeah, thank you to our sponsors.
Abhay. Any questions for Abhay?
No difficult questions.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a question, maybe it's just thinking out loud. I believe Microsoft didn't just connect Microsoft Dynamics or Office 365 to a GPT engine, because this is where this is way complex than what the GPT engine itself can do by its own. So I believe Copilot is just an abstraction or
Accumulation of everything.
yes, that sits, between all of those tools and the GPT engine. So I guess my question is, obviously, for that engine to work, it doesn't only depend on the prompt itself, because it will need some context from like the signed in user, from a table, from some data. Working in a government institution, some data are sensitive. So my question is, how long does that prompt, along with all the other data contexts, will stay on that engine? Like the sort of like the retention of that data?
So I'll give you a theoretical answer, and then maybe I'll put one of the technical people on spot here, so you have a time to think about that. When you are in dealing, especially in government, this is not a shameless branding that I'm doing. So the employer that I work for, we do a lot of work for the government, and we do operate in a regulatory space as well. So at times, even before you start thinking of implementing something small, there is a big push on understanding what does it impact, what is the meaning of it, does it expose us to any vulnerabilities. So AI is front runner of those regulatory action and studies. So bit of a cliche, but responsible AI is a thing. You want to be fully cognizant around your data that you're feeding into. So if in your scenario you are reluctant about what data will the AI use or consume, then maybe you can come up with a classification exercise on your data, and then do not put any of those sensitive data elements into the dataverse at all. Because unless someone can correct me if I'm wrong, once it's out there in dataverse, it will be accessible by Copilot. At the moment, I don't think there are ways where you can tell Copilot not to touch on a specific level.
Are you talking about access to the data, or how long things like prompts and responses are actually stored and retained?
Yeah, so obviously the prompts, along with some context, some contextual data from Dataverse, will be sent to Copilot and the GPT engine as the prompt, basically. So my question is, obviously that's like a request response. So how long does that request, which contains the data, will stay, either in Copilot or the GPT side? And how long the response will stay as well?
So it's a bit of a mixed response at the moment. Sort of depends which Copilot you're using. Some of the Copilots that are still, I'd say, sort of more in preview, there's a 90-day retention policy, and that's simply for the fact that Microsoft wants to reserve the right to potentially monitor what it's being used for and not being abused. There are tenant level switches for some of the Copilots to switch that off and say, I don't want to retain anything. I don't want any of that stuff to be. It's like kind of like keeping your search history. We just don't want that. So I expect more and more controls will come into play with that, so that you can be quite granular about what you do want to retain. Because in some instances, government especially, you potentially want to retain every time someone asks the AI to do something and what it gave back for things like OAA. Maybe, I don't know. That's a bigger question than me. But those are some of the things that I think we're considering as to what switches do we want. Because also you can imagine if there's a lot of requests or prompts with all the RAG stuff coming in and all the responses, it's a lot of data. That's going to ramp up very, very fast. So how much of that do we want to retain and why? So as I say, it's not a great answer because it's not a perfect one today, but it's a bit mixed. So it kind of just depends on the Copilot you're using.
Yeah. I'll add a bit to that. So as Michael said, if you're using something public, just be aware that will go back to the public because you're training a model in the public. And we had that incident that I talked about in a previous user group where DXC consultant used ChatGPT, the public available one, to ask for some formatting for an RFP. And that surfaced at the competitor. and then they took that information and then they won the bid. So you have to be careful about that. But when you're within your ecosystem, within your Copilot, within your data sets, then at least the data stays in there. And adding to what you're saying, Michael, like for example, at the Department of Internal Affairs, every single search is audited and monitored and reviewed, right? So you want to know if, like, Rami is going into the production system and looking at Abhay's account. Why? Right? So we have this information, and ChatGPT or Copilot has that power to aggregate data from different places and put it in one place. So you do want to monitor it. So it's a good thing that you store those prompts. It's a good thing that it learns and you store that learning so you don't have to start from scratch. And also a good thing that it's contained within your organization so that it doesn't go to the public. So, but as Michael said, it's an evolving field, and it will, like, you will have more monitoring, more governance, more visibility over what's happening over time.
Yeah, I mean, I was basically just trying to make a point where I work. We have obviously been denied access to ChatGPT, sort of Copilot because of privacy and security. That's regulation issues. So obviously, I believe our organization can benefit heaps from all of these tools. So trying to make a point where I can confidently say that these tools are safe for the enterprise, and like something like Azure AD, where you can sort of have that granular control over everything.
Yeah.
We recently hosted an AI Disrupt panel, so where we had 3 DCs from big government departments. One of them was from MB, and then we had representation from Microsoft, was one of the panelists. This point that you're raising got a very center stage in that panel discussion, almost took 20 minutes out of 2 hours. It's almost 10%. The précis or summary or the outcome was, from a technology point of view, Microsoft and other companies, what can do is they can only give us tool and platform to cater it for an individual use. I think it's up to individual public sector agencies to formulate a regulatory policy and see what works for them and what does not. Because I don't think Microsoft is in a position to create or tailor those policies for per public department. I think there's a bit of a...
When you start to get into things like M365 Copilot, it's leveraging the Microsoft search. So if the search that it's using is leveraging security policies and access policies, it's not going to be able to do anything outside of those policies. So kind of, again, coming back to if it's in your tenant and you're using the enterprise GPT, and I think to your point, it's probably coming back to the use case for AI and potentially the stuff that Abhay showed, that's a safer use case because it's in a dev place, you're building stuff, versus summarize all of the citizen data and do some crazy things there. There's kind of quite different use cases. So maybe that's what needs to be thought out more. Maybe, I'm sure you're already 10 steps ahead of us.